Thank you. Good morning. My name's Doug Brigham. I'm one of the co-presidents at the College of Idaho, and I want to thank everybody for coming out this morning. This is an exciting day for us. And before I get into the scholarship announcement, I want to give a little context here and a little background, and hopefully it all ties together for you. Last week, we announced that U.S. News & World Report had come out with its annual rankings of colleges, and we're really excited. College of Idaho had moved up 51 spots in the rankings, which is the most. That's 51 spots in the last 2 years, so it's the most of any college in the country. So we're very proud of that, but we're even prouder of a new ranking that they debuted this year. It's called Social Mobility. This is a measurement, amongst other things, that measures what we do with economically disadvantaged students that we bring into the college, and most importantly, how do we graduate those students. So we were 117th in the country in the overall rankings, but in social mobility, we were number 4 in the entire country. We were number 1 for all colleges west of the Mississippi. So we're very excited about that. And that ties in really well for why we are here today. So we're here today to announce a scholarship based on a partnership from 2 amazing organizations, the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation and the Horatio Alger Association for Distinguished Citizens. And I'll talk a little bit more about these organizations in a minute. But specifically, they are going to fund $1.3 million in scholarships over the next 8 years for the Horatio Alger Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation Scholarship Program at the College of Idaho. These scholarships are going to go to students who have exhibited integrity, perseverance in overcoming personal adversity, have financial need, and aspire to pursue higher education. We have the first 5 scholarship awardees on campus this fall as freshmen, and the scholarship will grow up to funding 20 students a year over the next 4 years. So we're really thrilled about that. I'd like to take a moment and tell you a little bit more about these organizations, and we've got Mike Halligan here, who's the executive director of Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, so he can speak a little bit more. But first, about the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. It's a major philanthropic organization for the Washington companies and the Washington family. Their funding for the foundation comes from personal contributions from the Washington family and the annual contributions from Washington companies. Since its inception in 1988, the foundation has given away almost $350 million to various organizations. So we're thrilled to be in partnership with them. Second, the Horatio Alger Association of Distinguished Americans was founded in 1947. And the association is dedicated to the simple but powerful belief that hard work, honesty, and determination can conquer all obstacles. The association honors the achievements of outstanding leaders who have accomplished remarkable successes in spite of adversity. One such honoree is none other than Dennis Washington. In addition to honoring successful individuals, since 1984, it has administered one of the nation's largest privately funded need-based scholarship programs like the one we are announcing today. Personally, for me, this is a really important announcement. When I graduated from the College of Idaho in 1987, one of our adjunct professors was working for a large international engineering company called Morrison Knudsen. He's here today, Alan Moore. He hired me, shockingly. Probably still regrets it, but I went to work for Morrison Knudsen. That company ran into financial difficulty in the early 1990s, and a gentleman by the name of Dennis Washington came in with Washington companies and bailed Morrison Knudsen out of bankruptcy. Saved thousands of jobs, saved my job, and really made an impact on the Treasure Valley. This was a longtime company, Morrison Knudsen, that had its great roots in this valley, and for him to come in and really bail the company out and save us meant a lot to a lot of people. As importantly, it got me introduced to two more of my lifelong mentors, one of whom is here in the back, George Jetton, with his wife, Sandra. George was the longtime CFO of Washington Group International, and just been an amazing part of my life and my career, and became a trustee of the College of Idaho. And as Alan Moore is now a trustee of the College of Idaho, also got me involved with another gentleman by the name of Steve Hanks. Steve was the longtime CEO of Washington Group International. In fact, I just saw him this morning, and he was headed a different direction on an airplane, but Steve was another lifelong mentor of mine, and had a big impact on our ability to get this scholarship today, and Steve is part of our advisory board at the College of Idaho. So we've got a lot of connections between the Washington companies and Dennis and Phyllis Washington. So it means a lot to me personally here today. With that, I'd like to extend on behalf of Jim Everett, co-president, and myself, our sincere thanks to Dennis and Phyllis Washington for making this possible. They are amazing philanthropists, and they have done so much for this Boise Valley. I'd like to thank Larry Simpkins. Larry is director of the foundation, wasn't able to be with us here today, but he and Mike were our first meeting on this. Jim and I flew up to Missoula, and we didn't know what to expect. We were going really on a meet and greet, get to know each other, and Mike and Larry asked some just wonderful questions about the school and what we were doing for students, and we walked out of there just in awe because they had thought about it in advance of us coming. They had a proposal for us. That happens about never. So they had a proposal for us, and it was what we're announcing today, and we just couldn't have been happier. So I want to thank Larry, want to thank Mike Halligan. You're going to hear from Mike in a minute. Also want to thank Kristen Law from Horatio Alger Association. Kristen has been wonderful to deal with. Brian Bava, who's our Vice President of Admissions, has dealt with Kristen over the last 6 months to get this set up, and the Horatio Alger Association actually picks these students. We don't pick the students. The students have to apply, and they did a wonderful job of picking the students. So I want to thank Kristen as well today. With that, you're going to get to meet and hear from one of these students this morning. She's a freshman from Meridian, Robyn Griffitts-Harper. And she is she's studying pre-law. She's all of 2 weeks into that. But I can tell you, Jim and I have been around Robyn a number of times in the first couple of weeks of classes here. And she's one of those people you don't have to doubt how she's going to do. She is going to succeed at whatever she wants to do in life, and we can't be prouder of her both as a Horatio Alger, Dennis and Phyllis Washington scholar, but as a College of Idaho student. So, Robyn, come on up.
Should I move this? No, it's okay? Okay, thanks, Lakowski. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you so much. It is my most sincere honor to be here speaking to all of you on behalf of the 4 other first ever College of Idaho Horatio Alger Scholars. To have been given this ultimate opportunity is more than an honor, but an investment in our success that is only made possible by the grace and humility of the dedicated individuals such as Mike Halligan, the executive director of the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation, and others within the foundation, and Dennis and Phyllis Washington themselves. Each of the aforementioned individuals of the Horatio Alger Association have all been integral to the future accomplishments of ourselves and hundreds of other students just like us. The Horatio Alger Association's belief is that hard work, honesty, and determination can conquer all obstacles. And I think this adage is deeply applicable to myself and the 4 other fantastic Horatio Alger scholars standing before you. Life is not intrinsically simple or easy for anyone, regardless of lifestyle or background. However, some challenges are certainly more demanding, ongoing, and life-changing than others. Personally, I grew up in a divorced and economically struggling household. Worrying about if we would make the mortgage on time and still be able to get groceries in 1 week from age 10 to the present can be a heavy and uncontrollable burden to face, especially when you're young. Because of this, I knew from a young age that higher education would only be feasible with outside help, and not going to college simply wasn't an option. So I worked really hard. In retrospect, much harder than I actually had to. But I suppose that's what hard work inherently is. I'm beginning to realize that I'm beginning to realize that working much harder than you have to is what allows you to conquer all obstacles and achieve more than you ever thought possible. Which brings us to the College of Idaho. My next adventure of working much harder than I have to, that I am confident will once again be rewarding. I have a hard time articulating exactly why I chose the College of Idaho my junior year of high school, but it became almost instantaneously clear on move-in day the intuition I had in my choice. These 55 acres in the middle of Caldwell, Idaho, are the most diverse, accepting, and positively challenging that I will ever have the opportunity to inhabit. And while hard work is one aspect that got me to where I'm standing today, the service and aid provided by institutions like the Washington Foundation and the Horatio Alger Association deserve an equal amount of credit. To avoid basking in the often sepia-toned romanticism of tropes, my childhood and experiences up to and including the present have taught me much more than one of economic and familial stability. If we're embodying honesty, more often than not, life is uncomfortable. We're faced with new problems and obstacles every day, varying in size and effect, that are overwhelmingly unpredictable. Yet, a life without hiccups and speed bumps is not a life I'd like to live, and I feel that my esteemed fellow scholars would agree. Even so, sometimes there are societal road closed signs for those unable to pay the tolls. But alas, there's hope. We as Horatio Alger scholars, College of Idaho students, and ultimately humans are never alone. We are a beautiful network of colleagues, companions, and acquaintances that exist to coexist. Asking for help is one of the most valuable skills we can learn to practice, the importance of which is ever perpetuated by those who give help to those of us determined to ask honestly and work hard with what we've been granted. See what I did there? Ultimately, I am incredibly grateful and indebted for the opportunities I have been granted through the Horatio Alger Association and all the individuals who dedicate their time and efforts to allowing students like us 5 to prosper. So on behalf of myself and my 4 other scholars, I promise that we will create a sizable return on investment. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I'll hand it back over to the illustrious president, Doug Berger.
So that's a 2-week-in college freshman. Wow. I could not have done that at that age. Still can't do it. One other thing, just so everybody knows, that comes along with this scholarship is the potential for these 5 students and those that follow behind them, the opportunity to apply for a Horatio Alger postgraduate scholarship, and also funded by Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. So challenge is on for you 5 to see who can be the first to win that scholarship as well. With that, I'd like to introduce Mike Halligan. Mike's the executive director of the Dennis and Phyllis Washington Foundation. I can't thank Mike enough for coming down here today. It's not easy to get from Missoula to Boise and back, and Mike has taken time out of his busy schedule to do that. I don't want to know how early he had to start to get here this morning, and he's going to get home really late tonight, but he was kind enough to take time out of that schedule to be here. That's how important they feel it is to be connected when they give these scholarships out. So, Mike, if you want to say a few words.
First of all, I apologize for being late, but when the caution light goes on in the plane, you pay attention to that. So anyway, I thank you very much for being here. So I get an opportunity to implement a passion, all right? And you've got Dennis and Phyllis who believe that access to a high-quality education is the single most important determinant of success in life. So it's a passion that goes deep into the roots of the foundation, and it's something I get a chance to implement every day. We do a lot of other things with nonprofits all over the Northwest and in Montana, but scholarships is key to both Dennis and Phyllis's vision, and we have about 300 young people going to college at any given time on the scholarship money that we provide. So Dennis, when he was growing up, and I need to develop a context for this, he was with his parents over in Bremerton, Washington. They were working in the shipyards during the war. He was a bit of a hellion, and in the shipyards back in the 40s during those days, things were pretty crazy. His mom and dad working as much as they possibly could to make ends meet, and in the process, unfortunately, got divorced. And so Dennis was between households and aunts and uncles in the Bremerton area, and as luck would have it for all of us, Mom and Dad decided that the best place for him to grow up was with Grandma in Missoula. And that's why most of the companies are located in Missoula. And I think the beginning of the ethic that Dennis has, in life, began first with his parents, of course, his mom and dad, but with Grandma. And then he got lucky. I mean, Dennis wanted to try to fix anything mechanical. He didn't want to necessarily be in school. He wanted to fix gasoline, and back then, if there was diesel engines. But he was fortunate to have a teacher, in this case a shop teacher, who helped him get a job at a local gas station. And why this gas station owner had this vision back in the early 50s, I'll never know. But he said, you can work here as long as you finish high school. And so making that connection was something that kept Dennis in school, and having that teacher have that vision and work with that individual to make sure that Dennis could be successful. So as he then came to Missoula and then went on to work in Alaska in mechanical equipment, and then came back after he was about 25 years old and worked for Uncle Bud in his construction company. And one day he is on the job in Drummond, Montana, about 50 miles east of Missoula, and the foreman didn't show up for the job. And I think it was Bud himself who came driving up and said, what in the heck is going on here? You're standing around doing nothing, and, well, the foreman didn't show up, so we don't have anybody to direct us. And so Uncle Bud says, well, who can run this job? And Dennis, at the age of 25, raised his hand and said, I think I can do that. So the start of Dennis's construction and leadership skills, but he did say at the time that I don't know how to read engineering plans. I need to be able to do that. And so what did he do? He went to the engineers and said, I will fix any car, any vehicle you have if you'll teach me how to read engineering plans. It's kind of that support structure that you referred to, that we don't know where it's going to come from, but it comes from a lot of places to keep us on a track. So through that process then, and Dennis working in those jobs, and as I-90 and all the interstates started to be completed, then he moved on to wanting to potentially work for a bigger company. And as he went to his uncle, and his uncle said, Dennis, I don't think you can work for anybody. I think you need to have your own company. And Dennis said, well, I don't have any college education. I don't have any finance background. I don't think I can do that. and said, listen, Uncle Bud, or actually it was the Gallagher family, helped out with loaning $30,000 and I think a D8 cat and a backhoe to him, and that was the start of the Washington Construction Company that eventually ended up large enough to be able to come in and help with the Morrison Knudsen, a huge construction company that was all over the world, 35,000 employees. And I think when you look at the individuals here, you know, Doug and Al and George and then Steve Hanks, I mean, it was that ethic and that commitment to excellence that they had in a company that Dennis had in his passion in his industry, in the industries that he wanted, and then gradually we expanded into other things that he brings now, and it's my job to implement for the 17 years that I've been executive director, is we find kids who are trying to overcome adversity. We just need to open doors up for young people. And we'll open the door. You have to walk through it. You've got to do the work. But it's just figuring out a way to help open those doors that when Doug and Jim, you know, made the call over to maybe have an appointment, you know, they didn't know it, but as Larry Simpkins, the president of our companies, and he wanted to be here today, but Dennis is coming into town, so there's a priority relationship there that he has to take care of, and I'm happy to be here. But it was important when they came over that Larry said, you know, with all of the ethic and the excellence that came out of Washington Group International and the relationship that it had in this community and all of the commitments that the executives made and the graduates that came out of this college that worked in that, you know, it was a no-brainer for us. We knew the type of students that you attracted. We'd done the research. We looked at the high quality that you had in lots of different areas and understood that this is an investment that not only we would want to make, but if you Google the Horatio Alger Association, it is the largest privately held scholarship program in the United States, and it is all needs-based. All kids who have overcome adversity. And, you know, so they're from incomes in households below $55,000. That's the kids that Dennis and Phyllis want to help. And that's why it's so important for us to make sure that when we partner with somebody, that we can partner with institutions such as the College of Idaho that have all the credentials that Doug mentioned earlier. So I'm going to stop there just because it's all about the kids and it's not about anything that I would say or do. But on behalf of Dennis and Phyllis, we can't wait to see how the careers and the academic work explodes and blossoms and to see what you'll do in life. So thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Mike. If you get a chance, we have three of the other, you met Robyn earlier, but we've got three of the other Horatio Alger Scholars up here, and the fifth one, shockingly, is in class. So I don't know if you three skipped or don't tell us. Don't tell us, but please get a chance to come say hi to them. Jacob Badabengo, we have Marissa Schwartz and Amanda Bromley, and Nathan Kimes is the fifth one who's not here. So thanks to everybody for coming out. Thank you, Mike, for making the effort to get here. Have a great day. Go Yotes.